One mark of a superb dungeon master is their ability to present settings with great detail, making every action the players take feel impactful. They weave a world together with words and fill it with characters and a depth that makes that world feel real. This is the type of dungeon master most folks strive to be, but sometimes words can fail you. So I'll share with you a tool that has helped me and other dungeon masters create vivid scenes for years now, Dscryb. Hey folks, I'm Alex Story, and welcome back to The Fire. If you're an enjoyer of the many D&D creators here on YouTube, you've probably heard about Dscryb. It's a common sponsor. You see it everywhere.
I gotta recommend adding some flavorful descriptions from Dscryb.
This video's sponsor, Dscryb.
Which brings me to this video's sponsor, Dscryb.
But what exactly is this tool, and is it helpful? My take, I believe it's a pretty valuable tool and worth the investment, and I'm going to show you why today. I'll start by describing what it is. I'll go through the use cases, and then I'll talk to you about their pricing model. So Dscryb's immediate draw is that it provides thousands of box text descriptions for all manners of things, from buildings to monsters to spells and speeches. It has other features as well, like maps and sound effects, which we'll cover later in the video. But right now, we're going to focus on their main feature, the box text. So if you're familiar with D&D adventures, box text refers to the parts of the book the DM reads aloud to the adventurers. It's part of that classic D&D cycle of setting the scene, having the players react, and the DM then describing what happens next. If you're not running a pre-written adventure, this is where Dscryb can be immensely helpful, because you don't really have box text because you're writing everything yourself. So let's say your players run into a magical longsword, right? Instead of describing a +1 magical longsword as you find a sword that seems sharper than your average sword, you can open up Dscryb, search for longsword, and say, you could say the knightly blade of this longsword shows several signs of superior technique used in its forging and tempering. Through dozens of iterations, the weaponsmith has zeroed in upon a nearly perfect harmony of balance, flexibility, lightness, and hardness, topped off with a minor enchantment scribed into the base of the sword's hilt. And it sounds a lot better, right? Sounds impressive and evokes a sense of epicness. And that's something that, hey, you found a sharp sword, might not necessarily convey. So what's the use case for something like Dscryb? Well, when it comes to making awesome descriptions, you're either one of two things as a dungeon master. You either have time to write descriptions yourself when you're doing your D&D prep, or B, you are great at improvising on the spot because you have a vast vocabulary and you are a wordsmith, right? Dscryb provides an alternative path, kind of a way to cheat for those of you who do not either have A, the time, or B, the improvisational skills. And, you know, you can have both of those things. It just makes it easier if you have this tool too, right? So if you're short on time or bad at improvising, it's a good investment. So let me show you how you use it. So Dscryb itself is pretty straightforward. I mean, you go to the website, you sign in once you have your account and everything, and really you can just browse from there. You can either use the search to search for what you're looking for, or hit the Explore tab in the top right there. I'm just going to type in what I want. So let's say I have folks going to let's say a graveyard. I'm just going to type in graveyard, and you're going to be able to find what you're looking for from the search results. So you can see kind of different headings here. So a necromantic graveyard and theater. That's not really what I'm looking for. Maybe a restless graveyard at night. So let's click on that. And now I can get an idea of what I might want to say to my players when they get to this graveyard that they're going to run into either later for my prep, or let's say I'm in the middle of the session, they went to a graveyard, I did not plan for them to go there. I can just quickly pull this up and make it sound like I had this prep the whole time, right? So I can say the scent of hail mixes with that of turned earth and rot. Among aged, crooked headstones, wisps of mist float just above the ground, churning in the wake of glowing apparitions, flying aimlessly in the dark. These deathly lanterns provide just enough light to reveal that the paired, candle-like wisps of green light in the graveyard burn in the eye sockets of wandering corpses and skeletons. Right, so that sounds creepy, sounds awesome, sounds a lot better than, yeah, it's spooky in there, and can help you, especially in the moment, or if you're just prepping this, you know, beforehand. So that's really it. So when I open up the library by clicking on Explore, and then by clicking on Browse, I get this huge page of descriptions. You can see it's broken down into different sections. You got places, monster spells, items, characters, dialogue, Enchanter Academy, planes and deities, nature, vehicles, mounts, as well as player. And so from there I can find what I'm looking for. So how I prep for my sessions is typically I'll find a couple hours throughout the week, and then I'll just reread what the players were doing from my notes from the previous week and try to anticipate where they might go. Usually 3 or 4 different options that they might go throughout the next session, and then I try to find or create descriptions for things that they might run into. So I'll show you a quick example of how you can do that, how you can prep beforehand, as well as how Dscryb helps you keep all those different descriptions in the same place. So if you want to prep beforehand, you just go to compositions and your My Compositions, and you can see what's in there. So my players are going to a masquerade ball. I know for sure that they're going there because they ended the session right before they were entering the masquerade ball, and that's probably going to be the majority of the next session. So I went in and found a whole bunch of descriptions from Dscryb that align themselves with what they're going to run into. So once you go into there, into the collection here, the compositions, on the right, you'll see this little assistant, and you can search for things. Scenes, ambiances, and you can write notes as well. So you can search for whatever you're looking for, and let's say I just typed in ball because I know it's a ballroom, and you can see I've already put different options over here on the left. So I've got ballroom pillars, I've got an entrance to a Gothic ballroom, entrance to a Gothic ballroom at night, and then I added this, I'll show you how to do this, a massive dragon skull, because they're going to a ballroom within a museum, which has a big dragon skull in it. And, you know, I know there's going to be music in there, so I put in a musician. I know there's going to be different nobles in there, too, so I put some descriptions of some of the different nobles that they have here in the in Dscryb. So that's what I did. I got it all in one spot, so now when I'm opening up my session, or when I have my session going, I can quickly find it, what I'm looking for. And I even have stuff that I wrote myself, because I know, you know, it's a little bit more specific to my campaign, and it's not really a generic description that you're going to find on Dscryb. So, and to do that, like I said, I was going to show you, you can just click on the notes and then right here, the little universal note symbol, and then from there you can just type in your own heading for what you're looking for. I did massive dragon skull, and then I typed in my description, which you can see here, you know, center to top, sturdy marble supports. I will say one thing to keep in mind for this is that there is a character limit. So if you want to have some really big flowery descriptions, you might want to break it out into multiple ones. I'll just copy this, or I guess cut it. You can see that it kind of stops after a while. It forced me to stop after this many characters. So that's something to keep in mind if you're writing pre-written notes in here. Either use a different tool like Notion or Google Docs or something, or break it up into 2 different descriptions here within the compositions of Dscryb. So yeah, that's how I prep. Now you probably notice if you go back, they have a whole readied composition section too. So if you click on that, you're going to be able to find all of the different compositions that Dscryb has already put together, which is super useful, especially if you have a setting that you want to talk about. So here's one for Vampire's Manor. We click on that. It's collected all the different things you might find in a Vampire's Manor all in the same spot. So you can see we've got a grand foyer, an exterior, a coffin sanctuary, a spare bedroom, grounds, library, all that fun stuff. But yeah, so that's the box text of Dscryb. Now let me show you some of their map stuff. So if you go to the homepage again, you might notice that at the top you see under scenes, maps. So if you click on that, you'll get to this page, the Cartographer's Collection, where they have maps and illustrations of all sorts of different things. Just like before, you can navigate through the different pages. For example, we talked about that ballroom. My players going to a ballroom. Here's a Gothic ballroom. So not only do we have a map that I can print out for, you know, in different versions, we've got, you know, day and night versions, and then we've got gridded and non-gridded versions. So that's what the G and the NG stands for. So, and it even has the map dimensions. So if you're using a tool like Roll20, or if you want to print it out and make sure you have it like all squared away, you can see, you know, how big you need to make it. So it's pretty dang useful. And like I said, you already have the description here if you want to describe what that ballroom looks like. And then what's even cooler is if you click on this interactive map section, you can click on different sections and a description of that section will pop up on screen. So here we have the expanse of the Gothic ballroom here. If I click over here, I can describe the entrance to the ballroom. If I click the stairway here, I have a description of that and the rose inlay as well. So That is pretty awesome. Like, just one map has like 4 different descriptions that I can talk to my players about as they go and navigate around this map. So, cool feature there with the map. And that leads me to pricing, because some of the stuff is locked, including the maps, depending on the tier that you purchase. So, I'll talk about the different pricing that they have here. So, one thing I didn't show you was the player stuff. So there is a whole section just for players. So like spells, descriptions, and whatnot, and like, you know, different player scenes. And then they have the storyteller. So they break it up into DM and then player versions. And then I have the hero, which is both of them, right? That's the hero mode. That gets you access to all of this stuff. And you also get access to the maps that I showed you already with the descriptions. And, you know, the integrations with Foundry VTT if you use Foundry. Now, the stuff above here, the Composer and Celestial plans, these I haven't explored too much, but this gives you access to sounds, because they have a huge library of sound effects, ambiances, and music for your games. I'll focus on Hero because I think that's the best value for me as a Dungeon Master, but that is $80 a year, or the $8.79 a month, which I think is a pretty fair price for everything that you get out of it, and how it speeds up my prep time, and how it improves the way I describe my scenes and settings. So, but yeah, one thing that I love about it is it does have a 14-day trial. So they will refund your money if within 2 weeks you're like, you know what, this isn't for me, I'm not really finding a lot of use to it. You can get your money back. So that's a really cool thing too. So, you know, feel free to try it out. Like I said, I'm not sponsored. There is a referral code or whatever if you want to use that referral link, but I am not sponsored. And yeah, so that is a quick overlook of Dscryb. I think it's a super useful tool for DMs and possibly even players if you really want to be a super descriptive role player. But definitely for DMs, it saves me so much time. It makes my scene so much better. And honestly, like, it evolves in the moment too. Like, so if I'm not planning for something and the players go off on a tangent, which they always do, I can use this as a way to quickly search for box text for the scenarios that pop up without me saying, yeah, you run into the room. Because now I can find some descriptions for it. So anyway, I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button. And as always, please subscribe. We just passed 2170 subscribers. My hope is to get to 10,000 subscribers in 2023. So if you want to help me out with my New Year's resolution, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.